Welcome to the Luxury State of Mind podcast, where we focus on intentionally crafting a life that feels tailor-made for you. On each episode, you'll learn how to create luxury in your everyday life and celebrate the uniqueness that is you. I'm your host, Damio Shodi, and I'm excited to help you develop a luxury state of mind. Hey there, welcome to the Luxury State of Mind podcast. I'm your host, Damio Shodi, and on this podcast, the goal is to help you live in luxury every single day of your life. So whatever luxury means to you, whatever is a meaningful life for you, that's the goal of this podcast. And it doesn't matter, where you're coming from, what your background is, or how much money you have in your bank account currently. You are able to live in luxury today. And that's broken down by 3 different principles. First one being identity, second one being intentionality, and the third one being freedom of choice. So on this episode, we're going to focus on a lie, a major, huge lie that is keeping you from living in this luxurious, meaningful, purpose-driven, visionary life that you just so desperately want to get to. That you're like, man, I just want to live in this way. When you think of the life that is for you, when you think about that and the biggest dreams that you have, there's a certain place you want to get to. But this lie will hold you up from living at that place. I guarantee you. Okay? So this number 1 lie is everybody already knows it but me. Or I'll say it again in another way. Everybody already knows it but you. And now we'll think, okay, what is the it? The it can be anything that you say to yourself, I wish I could be like. I should do this. Why can't I be more like ... Whatever that is for you, that's what that it is. And that it could be a talent, a skill set, a personality trait, or even a way of working in your current role. So you fill in the blank there. What is your it? What do you wish you could be more like? And because you feel you're not like this, then you're at a deficit. And that feeling comes like everybody who has that is far ahead of me, and I'm always the last to know. Something is clearly wrong with me. So that's what it feels like. It feels like when you feel that everybody else knows this thing than you, it's like, man, am I just slow? Like, why haven't I got the picture? Like, something is clearly wrong with me. Why are they able to do things the way that they do it? How are they able to be so extroverted and show up in a room and, everybody just surrounds them? How are they able to do their job so well? How are they able to be that type of mother? How are they able to, I wish I could be like that. And because I'm not, something is clearly wrong with me. Have you ever felt that? I'm pretty sure you have. I know that I have felt that. And it is something that I have worked so hard to overcome. And I'm going to share with you some ways how you can overcome this feeling and change your perspective on this. So we have to look at this particular lie. And sometimes this is actually what's embedded in our mind. It is the heart posture of our minds. There are certain things that we believe are fact. And we believe they're truth, but in reality, they're a lie. And we have to look at what does it look like in our mind? What comes up when we know we're believing this lie? So one thing that you'll know that you are believing a lie like this, or a version of this lie, is you constantly feel like an impostor. Let's say at your job, you may have just started or you've been around for a while and you are always scared that, man, at some point they're going to just find me out. I don't have the skill set like so-and-so. I'm not doing it like Sandra on level 4 or whoever. So if I have to keep working hard, because if I don't keep working hard and trying to keep achieving, they are going to find out that I'm an imposter, and they're going to know that I'm a fake and I'm a phony. So that's one way that this mentality can show up in your mind. Another way is you struggle to communicate your value. When it comes to job interviews or when it comes to meeting people, and let's say you are working, in your career, and you also have a side hustle, and now you need to share, what you do. It's hard for you to be able to share that value with confidence, or to be able to say who you are with confidence. Or in an interview, it's like, man, I don't know how to piece it together. I don't know what value that I have to offer here. Another way that this mentality can show up in your mind is it can have you feeling inferior, constantly feeling inferior to everybody, especially the people who have the it that you so desperately want or think that you need in order to be successful in the way that you want to be. So you feel inferior. You can't maybe look at them in the eye directly. You feel like you have to always make yourself smaller in conversations because you just don't think you have what it takes to be in the presence of certain people, or to be in the presence of the people that you admire. Or you're constantly talking down on yourself, constantly feeling like I have to make myself less. I have to make myself small, instead of owning who you are, what you've done, and all those things. And then also feelings of jealousy can come up. Constantly looking to others and feeling that jealous feeling, like, man, and it may not look like jealousy. We may not label it jealousy, but man, if always I could have what they have, or why did they have that? Why can't I do that? Why did they have that? That type of feeling. And then developing a sense of, hatred is a strong word, but dislike for somebody. And you don't even know why you dislike them. You just be like, I don't know, they just give me bad vibes. But in reality, you're jealous because it's like, man, I wish I could do that. I wish I could be that, but I feel inferior to that person. And then another big one is inaction. And I think this is a killer. There's things that you are supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be moving. You're supposed to be, you know what I'm saying? You're supposed to be out here shaking and baking. But because of this, everybody knows it but me feeling, and clearly something is wrong with me, you just don't act. You fill up your time with other things. When it's time for you to take action on a project, or it's time for you to dedicate time to what's important to you, you fill it up with other things. Things that look important, but in reality have no importance at all in the grand scheme of things, or could be scheduled for another time, but it's a way to escape. So those are some ways in which this mentality and this lie can show up in physical form, because clearly everybody knows it but you, and something is clearly wrong, right? So what is the cost of this? What is the cost of believing this lie? What is it costing you in your life? And that's the thing, that sometimes we're just going through life and we're just, doing what we always do. And there seems to be no consequences at the time. But when we look back later, 5 years, a year, 10 years, we'll know the consequences then. But it's good if you can understand now, what is it costing you? So the first thing is stagnancy, which is huge. Being stagnant, lacking movement in the things that are important to you. Oh, I will get my health together at some point. You desire to be somebody who's healthy, or to, even maybe change your body composition or whatever it is. You desire to do that, but this mentality is telling you that, girl, something is wrong with you. You're just inadequate enough to know what to do, so don't even bother. You may start something in your health journey and then just continuously keep stopping because it's like, what's the point? Like, clearly I can't do it. So you become stagnant, or there's a project that you need to work on. There's something that you even feel a burden to work on that you should be working on, right? But that mentality of I'm not like those people. I wish, whenever you say, I wish I could be like, I should do this, I should be that, but I'm just not like that. Be careful, because that thing could be keeping you stagnant in progressing in the areas that, like I said, mean something to you. And that in itself is the luxury. It means something to you. It's what you envision for yourself. Like when you think about it, you're like, man, if I could just do this, or I could be here, that is what we're talking about when we think about luxury. So it makes you stagnant. Another cost that comes to you when you live in this mentality is your inner peace is robbed. Think about it. It's like it's tormenting you. Constantly always feeling at a deficit in your ability because you want to be like, there's something that you want to attain to be like, and you're not there yet. And it's tormenting you that you're not this. And you know what's crazy about all this? This thing could be a figment of your imagination. How you think it should be and how you think people are and all these things. It can be a figment of your own imagination, but to you it's real. So your mind is tormented because this idea, so an example of this is somebody who's ambitious. Somebody who you think that there's a way to be ambitious. And I actually got this from a conversation with somebody. There's this picture in your mind that you think, in order for me to be the way that they're doing, I have to work as hard as they're doing it and all these things. And something that I had to learn previously, because I also, this particular thing that I'm talking to you about is something that I have had to work through, identify, and I'm continuously finding ways to overcome this type of mentality. So you may think that, I have to just hit the ground running full force. That's what ambition means. That's how you get things done. I have to just run. But is it possible that there's another way to get things done in the way that the things that are important to you? Is it also possible that you can actually start small and start where you are and dedicate time little by little and then develop a practice of doing that? And then as you get stronger, as you expand and you develop the groundwork of what you're doing, you can then grow more and develop more. And then by the time you look back, you've accomplished so much. But if you go in there full force, I have to do it like this. This is what the picture of ambitious people look like, or people who are successful in life. They just running. But it's like at the end of the day, you never know what that person had to do in order to be like that, or their system, or what they had to give up, or their process. We don't know any of that. So we've come up with a framework in our mind that, okay, this is how it's supposed to be. In order to get this result, it has to be this. You have to do this. And that is not, majority of the time, the truth. Things are not always black and white. Things are not always this leads to this. And with life, I think we know that, but our mind sometimes doesn't realize that. So that constant tug and pull of, I wish I could be, why can't I be like that? Something is wrong with me. It really does rob you of your inner peace. And then another thing that it costs you is your, in a way, identity, because you take on an identity that is not your own. So let's go back to that introverted, extroverted thing, right? You feel that you are not somebody who is extroverted. You can't be out there, and that's just not who you are. So I'm going to say this. I don't really stick with, I'm this, I am that, I am an introvert, that's who I am, or I'm an extrovert, that's who I am. I really feel like it can depend on, the environment, who you're around. So I don't like to stick to those things to label myself or somebody or whatever, because it just really depends. But anyways, you say to yourself, this is who I am. I'm introverted. Nobody may, I'm just not that person. I don't go to networking events. I don't do this. I don't do that. Not knowing that you don't even know the depths of who you are. You don't even know fully what you're capable of. You only know what you know today. And so when you label yourself like opposite of what it is that you may be desiring to be, because maybe that is actually who you are, but you just haven't discovered that part of you yet. You label yourself, you keep to this particular thing, and then you're like, well, this is who I am. And now you've cut off a whole possibility of even developing and finding out who you actually are. And that is why I don't like certain things like zodiac signs. I don't like enneagrams. I don't like those things because it puts you in a box. You don't have the opportunity to expand and to grow. You take on a specific identity that today this is who you are, but who knows who you actually are? Only God knows who you are. So I don't like, sticking to those type of things to define this is who I am. Sorry. That's just not my personal way of looking at things, because you yourself don't even know who you are. That's why you have to go to God. That's why you have to go, specifically when I say God, I mean Jesus. This is why you have to go to the Lord to get to know who you are. And an example of this and how this has actually shown up in my life, because everybody that I know, I have told this story about this infamous game night, right? So I'll give you a little backstory. So when I was in college, I was moving and grooving in the social scenes and all that. But I would realize that when I was with a certain group of people would always say hi to the people I was with, but they wouldn't say hi to me. They would kind of hug them, talk to them, do all this stuff, and I'd be standing right there, and they would not say anything to me. And I noticed this multiple times, many, many times. And then, sometimes people be like, oh, hey, how are you? Or finally want to get to know me. But I walked away feeling very rejected by the people at school. So what ended up happening was I took on an identity that I'm just not somebody who people want to know. I guess I'm just not somebody in a way worth knowing. And that sounds harsh. And I never actually said that in my own mind, but that's what I under everything believed, that maybe I'm just not worth getting to know. So it didn't matter what I did. It didn't matter how friendly I was. That's just the experience that I kept having. So when I got back to my hometown and started living there for a couple of years, part of, people ask me, oh, what did you do when you lived in Tampa? I was like, I don't really do much. Like, I was really focused on, at the time, school, building the podcast and doing all this stuff. But also part of it, like, that I didn't go out and do all those things because I had this mentality based off of the experiences that I had that I guess I'm just not worth knowing. Nobody cares. I would always say that, like, nobody cares. Nobody cares, like, to get to know me. And I carried that mentality for a long time. Now, when I moved to Texas, I was like, okay, I'm in a new place. It wouldn't make sense that everybody feels that way, right? Maybe those in Florida felt that way, but maybe is it possible that I can find new friends? And then also because I was in a new state, I actually had to get to know people because or else I would have been alone. I only came here knowing one person. So I had to go out and venture out.
I absolutely love the opportunity to be able to celebrate with people and to know what they are doing in life that makes it more meaningful and more exciting, equaling luxury. So let's see what's in the inbox today.
I'd like to share a recent celebration, and that is our daughter's first birthday tomorrow. We are so grateful. We're so happy to have her. She's such a blessing. We've been praying to have her for a few years now, and we're just so thankful that she's finally with us. We have a small celebration. We are quite busy today, but we know everything is going to be worth it. So yeah, thank you.
Congratulations to you, Nylin. And that is so beautiful. having the opportunity to celebrate your child, and especially since it's a child that you've prayed for such a long time. It is no small thing to celebrate her birth. So that is amazing. Thank you for sharing that with the community. And we are celebrating you and your family as you continue to enjoy the beauty that is your daughter. So if you are interested in sharing your wins, again, no matter how big or how small, we want to hear from you. Let us know by clicking the link that's going to be in the show notes. And once you click that link, you are going to be led to a web page that will allow you to record your win. So again, we want to know, no matter how big or small your win, we want to celebrate you on that, and we want to feature it on the podcast. So let's get back into the episode. So my friend, one day she invited me out to like a happy hour, and that was something that was new to me. I'd never actually gone to that type of thing, but I was like, okay, let me go and try to meet people. And I was kind of following her lead. Like, she was just very, comfortable talking to new people and getting to know people. And I was like, that's interesting. And, I was talking a little bit too, so it wasn't hard as much as I thought it was to, get to know people and all this stuff. So she invites me to this game night. And I was like, I don't want to go because it's too far. But she was like, okay, don't worry about it. Like, I'll drive. So I went with her in her car, and she drove me and this other girl to this game night in the boonies. Okay. But when I got to this game night, I was amazed because there were so many people. There was so much food, so many people. I don't know any of these people. I only know her at this event and some of the people that we just went to this happy hour with. So I remember I sat down for a little bit, just kind of looking and, all this stuff. But then being in a new environment, something about it, I don't know. It's like people don't want to know me. People don't want to this, that, or another belief that I had just kind of fell away. And I started interacting with the people. I started playing the games. I started having so much fun. Like, that night, something in me changed. And from that night, it actually started a new version of myself. Because I used to think, I'm only this type of person. I'm only introverted. I only stay home. I don't need to be out. I don't need to, all that stuff. Nobody wants to get to know me. And then from that new experience that I had, it changed me. And now I started going to places that I didn't know anybody, going to networking events, hanging out with people I don't know, and just being open to get to know them. So I used to label myself, I'm introverted, I'm this, I'm that, this is who I am. But not knowing that, doing something new changed that, and I discovered the real me. I discovered the real me, the real person that I actually am. Not this person that is hiding under lies. And that's the thing. There are certain experiences that you have in your life that want to tell you that this is who you are. And it may happen repeatedly. This experience, it constantly happens. No matter who you meet, it constantly happens. But I tell you, it's a lie. And that's the thing. Who we really are is meant to be discovered, and is meant to be discovered with God. Can you imagine if I'm saying, oh, I'm not that type of person. Those are for those people, those networking people. I can't do that. And now I've missed out on the truth of who I am and who I can discover to be. So this is a major cost. When you put yourself in a label of everybody else knows it but me, I can't do that. I should be like this, but that's just not me. All that stuff, be mindful. You may be believing a lie that is hindering you from living in the fullness of who you actually are. So this is how you can overcome this mentality. This is how you can let this thing go, okay? And not stick to this, I should be like, I wish I could, why can't I type of mentality. The truth is, when you look at somebody and they have a certain skill set that you desire, or they have a certain personality trait that you actually inwardly desire, you have to keep this in mind. Everyone starts from somewhere, and you need to humble yourself and go on the journey to seek out the knowledge on how you can become that. So everyone that you're seeing, that you're comparing yourself to, that you are in your heart being like, why can't I be like this? If only I was like her, then I could progress in life, but I'm just not, so I'm here to suffer. That type of mentality. You have to understand that everybody starts from somewhere. Not everything that you see in people comes to them naturally. And you need to acknowledge that if this is something that you really want to be like, you need to humble yourself and go on the journey of seeking out knowledge on how to become that and also apply it. So you first need to admit that you need help. So let's think of this. Let's even go back to the example of my friend, and me becoming basically a social butterfly. I decided to be with somebody who is more outgoing than I am. I got under her wings in a way. I evaluated how she moves. I took mental notes in a way. You get what I mean? I put myself in a new environment that gave me another result and put myself somewhere that what I would typically do wouldn't work. I had to try something else. So I had to admit I needed help. And that looked like being open to going with her to certain events. That could look like, in your case, maybe you want to grow in your career. That could look like finally realizing maybe I need help. I have been trying to grow, and it seems that the people in my company that network or are close to whoever, they seem to be getting a lot farther than I am. Or maybe you're an executive. I read this story in a fashion book that I got, and she said that one of the clients that she had was actually an executive or a business owner or somebody that's very high up in a company. And unfortunately, because this person dressed just not great, right? They didn't care about how they looked. People would mistake this person as a janitor, even though they're the executive or CEO of the company or a high VP of a company. They would mistake them as a janitor or somebody that's just not at that level. And because of that, they were actually missing out on opportunities. They were missing out on opportunities to advance in their career, because human beings, we visuals are important to us. How people look, it's just important to the natural human being, right? So in order to, once she saw that this was costing her something, it was costing her advancing in her career and advancing in the area that she wants to get to, she actually hired this personal stylist for help. She understood that she needed help. She didn't go and say, well, I can't be like those other women who are so fashionable. Who needs that anyways? If you can't deal with the real me, then we don't need to work together, and all that stuff that we say to ourselves. So the first thing is, you need to admit that maybe you need help. Maybe you need to get around the person that has the it, whatever that is that you want to achieve. Maybe that person or that coach, maybe you want to advance in your career and you're like, I keep trying things on myself, but I just can't get it right. Maybe I just need help. Maybe I need to get into a coaching program. Maybe I need to seek out a mentor. But first, you have to just be humble and say, I need help. I need help. And I'll say this, because this just came to my mind too. Especially when we're looking at somebody who's creating things online and all this stuff, right? Sometimes you may be like, how are they able to not be posting all these things? They're all this that they're doing. They have all these kids. They have this, they have that. How are they able to do it? And I can barely just do one thing. You never know that person actually sought out help. They could have been in coaching that taught them a system. They could have hired an intern. They could have the part that causes them the most dread in, starting their online business or their business or whatever they're doing. They hired out, they put money aside, they understood that this is a weakness, and they sought the help to do, or to accomplish what they wanted to do. So that leads me to my next point. You need to seek the resources and the people that can help you. So a mindset that I want us in this luxury state of mind community to have is that you have to be willing to seek out information. You have to be willing to find out. You have to be willing to seek out in the areas that you need help with. Seek out the information. That can look like, or seek out the information and invest into that. That investment can look like money. That's a big one. Money. It could look like buying a book. It could look like listening to podcasts that you haven't listened to. It can look like getting a mentor. Be willing to seek out information. I think especially for those of us who are believers, we can think God is supposed to just download everything. I'll get in prayer and he'll just download everything to me. He'll tell me everything I need to do. Don't worry. I need my quiet time. But sometimes the direction that he'll tell you to do is not, okay, this is how you will do it. This is the way, and do this specifically. Sometimes, maybe. But he may tell you to go talk to this person and you wonder that why. Or go read a book. Can you imagine? Go read a book. And you're like, but God, I need insight. I need understanding. And it's like, nah, go read a book. Maybe you want to get better at your finances and you think that just sitting down in your quiet time alone will give you that help. Maybe the answer that you're actually looking for is in a book, in listening to a podcast, in getting coaching, getting a mentor. You have to seek out. And even in our relationship with the Lord, we have to seek him out. He said, if you seek me, you will find me. Seek is not just peruse. That looks nice. That's not seeking. Seeking is, tearing things up, looking, actively participating, being an active participant in your life, in your relationship with the Lord. You have to be active. He can't just tell you, oh, I want you to do this. You're going to start this, and then you just sit down. No, you have to rise and seek out knowledge. Because once you seek out knowledge and you act on that knowledge, now it has become wisdom. Wisdom is applied knowledge. And the Bible is very clear that my people perish for a lack of knowledge. Sometimes the issues to our problems, our mental terrors and all these things is because we lack the knowledge. We're just ignorant. And that's not always a bad thing. We just don't know. We don't know what we don't know. But then it becomes a responsibility of, I need to seek this out. And a simple way of that, right, could be being in proximity with people that you typically wouldn't hang around, or not typically wouldn't hang around, but like it, I'll give the example back to my friend, being able to be in proximity with somebody like her, who's more outgoing, being around her, learning by just subconsciously kind of observing. It taught me a lot, but really it just exemplified what was already in me this whole time. It was already in me, but I just needed to be out of the environment that I currently was in and go out there. So we have to be people who seek resources, seek out information in order to be where it is that we want to be. And that seeking sometimes also looks like investment. Of your money, of your time. Maybe for you, in what you are the lie you're believing, in order to help overcome that, you may have to invest in a program. You may have to invest in books, in courses, in a degree. It is possible. That's what it is that you may have to know, because you have to seek out the knowledge. God can meet you there. He can meet you in that book. He can meet you in that coaching program. Sometimes I have a conversation with somebody and they'll be like, Dami, like, wow, like the way that you think is just interesting, right? The way you put things together, it's just so interesting. And I think part of that is, yes, natural ability or just a gift. But then also, I seek out information. I am somebody who seeks out knowledge. I read books. I have invested in coaching. I am quick to buy a course. I would rather, because in my mind, I'm like, okay, this is a lot of time, like kind of like searching the internet. And this is something that you can do too, right? So course doesn't have to be a course, it can be whatever. Kind of piecing things together. You can do it. But in my mind, I'm like, I would rather, if somebody is selling like a, little course or whatever that is answering the questions that I need, or that I need answers to, I mean, it will save me time. I invest and I learn something new. So now when I apply it, it becomes new wisdom for me. So again, sometimes you have to adopt the mindset of investing into yourself in order to become the person that you want to become, right? And to have the skill set or to have the trait or whatever it is that you want to have. And then with that, take action. And when you're scared, continue to take action. I had to look back at myself and how I'm able to do like kind of bold things sometimes, right? I'll just do things and people will be like, how did you do that? When I was, during the time I was in my master's, I was running the podcast, I was hosting events, I was doing live podcasts, I was also doing coaching, and I was doing so many things. And really what it is, when I really thought about it, is I've trained myself to take action even when I'm scared, and I continuously keep doing that. Earlier this year, I did a training or a 30-day challenge, right? Where I spoke about the different things that I would basically be speaking about on this podcast. That thing, it scared me. I remember it took me like 2 weeks to like come to the realization that, am I really going to do this? To get online and just talk like that? Like, ooh, can I do that? I was shaking. But I said to myself that the person that I want to be must be able to do things like this. In order to get to the next level, in order to speak to you today like I'm speaking to you today and put my face on video and make this podcast and share these ideas and all these things, I had to get to another level than where I was before. So constantly in the face of fear, being able to take action still and see how you progress, see how you move forward, even in the face of action or in the area of fear, being able to keep moving. You got to train yourself to be that way. You look at people and say, how are they able to do that? How are they? That's the thing. You look at somebody, you train yourself. Take on opportunities you wouldn't usually take on. Do something that you wouldn't necessarily do that can bring you closer to who you are trying to be. So just keep that in mind as well. And something that you can practically do to get there is to do a challenge. Do a challenge. Maybe for you, maybe you do want to start a podcast. And the idea of getting on a camera and talking to people is scary. Do a 30-day challenge. Go live on your social account, even before you even have the podcast. Just go live. Or 15 days, 10 days, 7 days, whatever it is. And even if nobody watches, it's not for them, it's for you to train yourself on that. Or let's say you want to be somebody who's more extroverted. That could look like for the next 8 weeks, I'm going to go to one networking event a week or, every other week. Challenge yourself. Train yourself in the midst of fear to make decisions. And that is how you are able to quiet that lie and evolve to who you actually are. Because probably why you aspire for that thing or whatever you see in people, and I'm saying this for myself too, right, is because that is who you probably actually are. And you just haven't discovered that part of yourself yet. That is still an uncovered space. And no test can tell you about that. No sign can tell you about that. It's only God that can tell you. And he will show that to you through experiences, through living. That is how you overcome this lie that everybody knows it except me. And I'm whack. That is how you overcome it. So you can stop feeling whack. You're not whack. You have to understand everybody starts somewhere, and you have to be willing to humble yourself and go on the journey to become who it is that you want to become. Seek out information, learn, read a book or an Audible, listen to Audible, listen to a podcast. Be willing to take action. And that is how you quiet that lie and overcome it. So I hope this podcast sparked something in you and just empowers you. I want you to feel empowered to take action towards what it is that you envision for yourself, what it is that you want for yourself, and to be a participant in that and partner with the Lord on where you're going. So thank you so much for tuning in. It is a pleasure, as always, to catch up with you and just chat about these things. If you are like, where can I get more of this podcast? It is on everywhere, actually, that you can listen to podcasts. It's on Apple Podcasts. It is on Spotify. It is on YouTube. So if you are somebody who you say you love your friends and you're like, oh, I love my friends and I want the best for them, then share this podcast with them. Share this podcast with somebody that you love, whether your friend, your family, share it with them. And you can, again, find it on all of these different platforms as well. So thank you so much for listening in, and I will speak to you on the next episode. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the episode. If you enjoyed what you heard, please share with a friend and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also view the full episode on YouTube. Thanks for listening, and I'll speak to you on the next episode.